did, in the complete conviction that even when they would die, they would be in a win-win situation. Now, when they discuss an important national security issue like cross-border terrorism, I think it is best professionally to make any futuristic diagnostic indications on a combination of three things. Something about your knowledge, your understanding of the origin of the past of the problem, a good appreciation of what is happening in the present, and hopefully then, on the basis of intelligence that your agencies will be able to give you on the future plans of the adversary. I am very glad that my colleague of my North Block days, S.K. Datta, did refer to some of the original, some of the early part of cross-border terrorism. I'd like just to mention that I think I'm proud of the fact that the Indian intelligence was able to alert the government quite in an early stage of the new proxy war, this entirely new dimension that had started to originate in 1991. All that we saw in Punjab, where I was also associated with the operation, was nothing compared to what we were to face in the 90s. And the 1991 was a cut-off year not only for a new global situation, but also a new global security threat for India. Because the blueprint, and when I took over as chief in the early 1994, one of the first things I did was to send a very detailed presentation to the government explaining what the new proxy war was about. And I said something new is happening. We said that three components. For the first time, Pak ISI has been able to bring together not only the Kashmiri militants, but also Afghan Mujahideen, other militants, Khalistanis, and even their mafia under their control. And above all, the Jamaat-e-Islami, we are very familiar with this name, which was the operational ally of Pak ISI and CIA in Afghan operations, was to continue this post-91 offensive, where Pakistan had the advantage of numbers, and instead of de-emphasizing the slogan which had helped in Afghanistan, Pakistan chose to play that card and use the surplus of the Afghans. And it was in the winter of 1993 that the first Afghans appeared, and we all now remember about the terrorists of the Taliban stream, which first appeared on the Indian soil in 1994 and carried out two kidnappings of Western tourists, one in Delhi and the other in the valley. We certainly at least were able to nab the Delhi case, and I remember John Major, Prime Minister of Britain, sent a personal letter to S.P. Saharanpur when that Britain was, the British national was liberated, and yes, he lost his life. Now, therefore, this was a new combination Pakistan ISI for the first time created, and therefore the new proxy war was not a border phenomenon. It transcended Punjab and J&K to be made an offensive against the Indian state as such. That has to be understood. And unlike in Pakistan, where the terrorists had to bring headloads of weapons, boatfuls of arms, and RDX was given free and brought on our side of the border. And those 3,000 kgs of RDX, which was behind the Bombay blast, that confronted the Indian intelligence agencies with the new task of having to cover mafia. And after all, mafia was something connected with criminality. The Indian intelligence agencies, yes, the state CIDs will investigate, but that was a new challenge. I'm very happy to be able to say that it was met by Indian intelligence agencies and very well, and that is how Mr. S.K. Datta's organization also came into the task of counterintelligence. They are basically an investigating agency, but there was so much for them to investigate, because unfortunately the ideal thing that security should be preventive. That cannot always happen, and incidents did happen, mishaps happen, and through the route of interrogation, the culprits have to be reached. But the second element in this proposal was very important too, and it was defined in our report as intelligence encirclement by which the Nepal and Bangladesh territory would be used to reach out to the northeast. And you would recall that 96, for the first time, Pakistan ISI became the foreign umbilical cord for the insurgent groups in northeast, and 96, when all the major groups of northeast were put together, there was such a spurt in violence which took some time to heal. Now, but the third element was perhaps the most important, as I mentioned in passing, that Pakistan consciously decided to play the Islamic card in Kashmir. And the reason was they wanted to balkanize India. The word balkanization that we mentioned in our report to the government did not come from a Kashmiri or a Pakistani suspect on interrogation. It came from the top leader of Babbar Khalsa International, who had clandestinely entered India and who, you recall, surrendered to the Chief Minister of Punjab at that time. So, why I have taken pains to establish is that we are not talking here of general terms. We are talking of a threat which has been analyzed by our security establishment and of which the dimensions are not yet showing any signs of diminishing. All through the 90s, we took the beating. I mean, beating in the sense that we did a lot to neutralize the terrorism, but in a way, this was a one-point program for the whole Pakistan as a nation, and therefore it took its toll. All through the 90s, we have seen this growing, and now that we are hearing of a global war, a US-led global coalition's counteraction against global terrorism, I think we have to strategize carefully for 4 or 5 things. One,
to Mr. J. Sarup Pathak, corporate lawyer, Dr. Ashok Chauhan, to Mr. Ravi Kiran Mathur, Member Bar Council of India from Rajasthan, Raja Vijay Karan, because the paper has come but we will be not having the time to read it now, we will circulate it. Mr. Bhushan Raina, senior journalist, Mr. Balram Sangal, senior advocate and author, Mr. Vishnu Prasad, ex-Assam minister and ex-member of parliament, Mr. Nand Kishore Garg, MLA, Mr. Sanjay Jain, Central Government Council, Standing Council and former Secretary of the Bar Council, Mr. Chandra Verma, senior advocate, and Mr. S.B. Jain, former Secretary of INS. Now, because due to shortage of time, I feel sorry, but I will, Mr. Rajiv Sharma, special correspondent, the Tribune, who has written so many books on terrorism, about Kashmir, and about this Afghanistan also, and another book also on terrorism he has written. Now I will call him to say few words about this subject.
Honorable guests, I will confine myself to the strategic fallout of the post-September 11 events. And I'll make certain observations, all of which I will not be, due to the positive time, I will not be able to do it. Since 1989, when Soviet Union vacated Afghanistan, past 12 years, now 13, Pakistan has been using Afghanistan as its 5th province virtually. Post-September 11 has brought about a situation where Afghanistan is now going to use Pakistan as its 33rd province. Time is going to tell. Now, after 50 days of bombardment air raids by America, it has failed in its mission, in its prime mission, which is threefold. One, catch Osama bin Laden dead or alive. Two, destroy the network of Al-Qaeda. Three, uproot Taliban from Afghanistan, make it Taliban free. Well, in the third mission, probably one can say that Afghanistan has been rid of Taliban to some extent. But this is one menace which has not been rooted out so far. And I doubt that it is going to be rooted out in this fashion, in this sort of apartheid in which US is functioning. It's sort of an apartheid as far as anti-terrorism war is concerned. You can't make somebody an ally, a frontal ally in war against terrorism, somebody which has been running with the hare and hunting with the hound. Now, Pakistan is going to pay for its sins, which it has committed over past 12 years, particularly vis-a-vis India, Kashmir. In the sense that General Pervez Musharraf, probably what I understand, from the contemporary situation, from the classified information, or whatever I have access to, and from my interactions with the people at the right places, what I understand is that General Musharraf's days are numbered, both politically and I fear physically as well. It is going to cast a long, long shadow over Pakistan, the September 11th fallout. And it is not going to be good for India. It is good in a limited sense for India, that the cradle of terrorism is being attacked. Like the four Ks which have been in the forefront of troubling our case: Kandahar, Kunduz, Khost, Kunar of Afghanistan, which have been troubling Kashmir, which have been the cradle of seminaries, fundamentalist, fanatic outfits. What I fear is that the sooner this military regime in Pakistan goes, the better it is going to be for India, and not before that. Because let me point out, since 71, there have been 7 plane hijackings of India. All 7 have been conducted during the tenure of military regimes. 5 during General Zia, and 1 each during General Yahya Khan and General Musharraf. The last one was the most fierce and most well organized. Now, talking about coming back to the Afghan theatre, Osama bin Laden, his gang of Al-Qaeda, and his benefactors, Taliban, except Muhammad Atta, I don't think there are any reports of any other top leadership of Taliban or Al-Qaeda having been eliminated so far, which is a warning signal for US. I don't believe that Mr. Osama bin Laden had conducted the September 11 attacks without realizing that he is going to be caught and a reprisal action is going to take place. And if that is true,